This week, the Tennessee General Assembly passed legislation to make our communities safer.
Yeah, one bill would criminalize threats of mass violence. A second would ban Glock switches. Joining us today to talk about these bills is Jessica Jaglois, a former Action News 5 investigative reporter who's now Director of Communications for Safer Tennessee. Thanks for being here with us today, Jessica.
Good to be with you, Joe and Kim. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's first talk about House Bill 1093, the bill headed to Governor Lee's desk that bans Glock switches. The state law aligns with federal law. So explain to us what this device does and how the new law makes us safer.
So basically, a Glock switch is a switch that turns a handgun into a machine gun. It can fire off 1,000 bullets within a minute. And so this law, which was spearheaded by House Speaker Cameron Sexton, does ban Glock switches, which is a mimic of federal law. But it also prohibits felons from possessing ammunition, and it also ensures full sentencing for individuals convicted of drive-by shootings. So it is a huge win for public safety, and this just shows bipartisan support that's growing in Tennessee for firearm safety and safer communities.
And we should note that, the federal government, while this is against the federal law to have a Glock switch, the feds can't always take the cases. They have a very full docket, as the DA does, and so we have shootings, we're sorry to report, as we tell here on Action News 5, just about every day. We've had a very violent week in our community. I don't know how many of the shootings this week involved Glock switches, but wouldn't be surprised to hear that some of them have involved Glock switches. Now, the current state law makes possession of a Glock switch a Class E felony, the lowest level of felony. So for a first-time offender, that's about a year in prison. The new legislation moves possession of a Glock switch to a Class C felony, which is 3 to 15 years plus $10,000 in fine. How does Safer Tennessee envision this making a difference?
So obviously, with an elevated risk, this has been a huge issue in Memphis, is that there's been sort of a lot of people in the community feel there's been sort of a revolving door, that people are sentenced they receive very small sentences or very small bails and bonds. Now, bails and bonds are separate, right? Those are people who have not been convicted yet. So that is a separate issue from this. But this will just elevate accountability for people who are truly engaged in very dangerous behavior. In 2021 alone, the Memphis Police Department seized about 500 weapons equipped with these Glock switches. So this shows that it is a very not only dangerous device, but it is used quite frequently in Memphis. And so that will just ensure that people that they receive full accountability, and hopefully it would prevent future crimes like this from happening.
And Jessica, this bill also does two other things. It prohibits felons from possessing ammunition and ensures full sentencing for individuals convicted of drive-by shootings. Explain this legislation a bit more to us, please.
Sure. Yes, that's the other two components of this legislation. So it would now be a felony for a felon to possess ammunition, which it wasn't in the past. And then also it would ensure that individuals convicted of drive-by shootings would have to serve 100% of their sentences. So there is sort of a rule in Tennessee that you have to at least serve a certain percentage of your time, but for certain crimes, you have to serve a little bit more. And a drive-by shooting would be one of those crimes where you have to serve a little bit more, a lot more, your entire sentence. For example, for good behavior, we've talked about this actually when I was working at Action News 5. I believe it's about you have to guarantee about 30% of your sentence. This would ensure 100% of that sentence. So again, just increased accountability for firearm crimes.
All right, let's talk about another bill. It was called HB 1314, criminalizing threats of mass violence. This could be a threat of mass violence at a school or a place of worship on a publicly accessible website. How will this bill change the way offenders are prosecuted?
Similarly to the Glock switch ban, Joe, like you discussed, it elevates the felony. So it means more punishment, a more sentence, and just, again, more accountability. I think since I was in high school, we received, at that point, Columbine was just in the rearview mirror. When I was in high school, our school received a false bomb threat here in Nashville. Harpeth Hall, which is a private school. Many of those students used to attend Covenant, which obviously was the center of tragedy just 2 years ago. One of which our board members, Katie Dickhouse, lost her daughter Evelyn in the Covenant school shooting. Her older daughter goes to Harpeth Hall, and they had a bomb threat. And it brought all those emotions back up to the forefront. We know that when there is a school shooting, many other false, these are, and a lot of times kids want to get out of school, or it could rise to the level of something more serious. We have to treat each one incredibly seriously, because usually there are warning signs ahead of time. But when these are, no matter what, whether you're threatening and you intend to do something or not, the terror it rains on students and staff and faculty is just, it's enough where this needs to just elevate the amount of accountability that someone receives for doing that.
All right, Jessica. Well, thanks again for joining us today. Jessica Jaglois with Safer Tennessee, and so good to see your face again.
Good to see you guys.